I wanted to take a minute to walk through the workflow for the payroll accountant. It's in this final section here. There's numerous downloads that are available to you, and I can read these out loud to you just as easily, but I think it's better if you read it yourself and download it. The way to download is you go to the course here and you'll see downloads references forms, and in here it has like a web page that I've hooked in, an embedded web page it's called. um, and here any of the forms that I'm talking about are all listed here, and in this same embedded web page is this one link called flowchart payroll accounting. So I did this flowchart basically for CPAs and chartered accountants because they seem to like this sort of thing. And as I was doing it, I realized, yeah, it's pretty cool for myself too. But essentially, it's easier for me to describe the workflow here succinctly. Basically, the payroll employee has a number of forms to fill out and get started. Some are for the payroll service and some are for the government. And they're the usual things that you would expect. You have to sign a deal memo so you know the guy's rate. You have to know he's an American citizen with the I-9. If there's any kits or boxes to rent, you got to have the details and the rates. And there's an accounting policy that accountants always get the employees to read and sign to say, okay, they understand the basic rules of petty cash and how to get money, and basically the accounting side of film production. And once those forms are filled out, they end up here with the production accountant, who gets the payroll accountant, I should say, gets the production accountant to approve it, and then the line producer slash UPM also approves, so that everybody's genned in and they know how it fits in with their budget. And then it all ends up back in the payroll accountant's lap, who permanently files it all. And copies that are, once they're signed, go back to the employee. Now, then the payroll, the employee then, in order to get his payroll started, takes a time card. All right, so then figures out the time card, or I'm sorry, puts the numbers on the time card for the times. Sometimes his senior will do it, like a best boy, but the employee is always supposed to do it themselves. They don't always. When they don't, they have to at least sign the time card. And then it ends up with the payroll accountant, gets sent through the lines to the payroll accountant, who then calculates the gross. And that's everything we're doing in this course, calculating the SAG time cards to gross. With Screen Actors Guild, of course, the cast don't fill this out themselves. There's a production time report that gets filled out, and then the payroll accountant fills out the time card themselves. The production time report is done by the ADs and signed by the cast member. Alright, and then it gets to the production auditor, who approves it and checks the coding, the account coding, checks sure the calculations are correct. Then it goes to the UPM slash line producer. All ends up back with the payroll accountant, who sends it into the payroll service for processing. And if it's the first time, he also sends in all this GAC here. For the first time, that is the I-9 and the start card and details of kits and boxes and things like that. Alright, then the payroll service processes it, and they send digitally back a whole file. And the file goes right into this general ledger here. Bam. Then the entry to the general ledger is debit all the cost accounts, all the individual cost accounts based on the account codes we told it up here in the when we started it, and credit accounts payable. And then the payroll accountant basically checks everything, makes and prints the checks. Normally he's printed on site. Sometimes the payroll service will print the checks and send them over, but we usually print them on site. And matches, gets a copy of the time card, sends it with the check to the employee. Meanwhile, there's permanent copies of the checks filed in the permanent files with the employee's start card, all filed alphabetically, and gets sent out to set. And here the check is written, one check written to the payroll service to cover the whole payroll. So that's basically the flow. I have more details in here, and I state the type of forms, things like that. But it's pretty dry for me just to repeat it to you. I think you should, just through experience, get get this reality. And then finally, the last thing is here's my website, here's my email address. Stay in touch. All right, all for now.